changed out, you know.
Okay.
So it's sort of one of the things, it was your location, and I'm inquisical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way to break from...
Inquisical? Was that the word you just
Inquisical,
used?
yes, yeah.
Really, is that a Jennifer word?
Yeah, yes, it is.
It's very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's called,
Send me
I'm
your
bored with
contact
doing real work,
information,
so
I got you.
I'll
and have
sidetrack
Jason get a
you.
hold of you, and we can certainly run right over and data log it.
Okay. That would be great.
See what's going on.
All right, so you'll follow up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Great.
5,000 gallons, huh?
That's what we use, 5,200,
For 3 months?
3 months.
Yeah, we have a family of 3 over on Western. We all shower once a day. We do laundry, you know, and we're careful with not being miserly, and we're using about 6,000 gallons a quarter.
Wow.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
We use about 4,000.
That's right.
We figure the average is around 8,000, which is where we talked about changing the rate structure before, and it's one of the things that I talked to Paul with when he came through to vote, and would like to, you know, spend a little time of working the numbers. He's got the sort of the expertise, and see what we can come up with of flowing suggestions as to what to do in making it so it's a little bit fairer. But in your case, you know, you got to figure out what's wrong, because there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either a meter or something is leaking.
Yeah.
Toilet running by or
Yeah.
something's going on.
It
Yeah.
would be useful though if there was a way of handling it from downstairs.
They
so
c-
that
they
this
do.
information, like you can pay the fines, wasn't given to people. That was what they were told.
They're very good down there they've suggested a lot of people to go to data meters, so I don't know what might have transpired.
I know prior to our meters being put in, our quarterly bill was what, 383?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was-
yeah,
that would make
because you were on a flat rate, yeah.
But I was under the assumption that we had to go to meters, and that if we,
You
Yeah.
have to either now or later, yeah.
yeah,
This year, everybody's gonna be on meters by the end of the
Yeah.
year. Okay, we'll check it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good. So
Certainly one way to find the leaks.
Yeah.
I've got something I'm going to send around here that's at one level neither here nor there, but it's a historic curiosity. I was given a copy of this the other day. It is the April 23, 1900 water bill from the village of Newport for one particular resident. And the rules on the back are pretty interesting in terms of...
How much was the bill?
$6 or $7. $6.30.
That would've been a lot of money, actually.
Is that quarterly?
That-
Annually?
Well, that was a 6-month bill. It was first family at $7 a year, and then a tenement for an extra $3.50. But it's the rules on the back that are interesting, particularly the rule about how they lay the water pipes. Rule number 1. Compared to the way it's done now, they obviously weren't necessarily as concerned about entering on private property and easements as one might be now. So I just thought it was an interesting historical aside. After it was
There's the regulation you've been looking for, Paul. You see it, number 3? No person shall allow water to run to waste or
Right.
prevent it from freezing. If this is violated, the water will be shut off or double rates charged at the option of the water commissioners. We call that the Paul rule, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was
That's really double or nothing, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
of interest.
Fascinating.
And Jason via Tom provided us with an update on meter installations that I'm looking for here. As of today,
Yeah.
at 9:56 a.m., a total of 350 properties had been visited by the city, 294 meters installed, 56 not installed, and the not installed 10 are due to the need for structural modifications. and the other 46 are due to the need of plumbing modifications. So anyway, there's a total of 350 properties that have been visited since we started, the push started a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I think, well, I was absent from the last two, but prior to that, we had asked, can they add the total number of places that need to be visited so we can see the percentage done? So in other words, the total number of connections,
And what's remaining of where it
what's
needs to be.
remaining, yeah, exactly. That's a key piece of information that we need.
We sort of have it on, I sent you a spreadsheet, this is an old one, I did some
Right.
revisions on it, that has it, you know, we
Right.
can always add up on that.
But
Yeah,
this is good training for these guys too,
Yeah.
because we're not always gonna be here.
yeah, it's
So,
true. So
water
in
system
a,
management.
yeah, in a
That's a threat.
year, by the way, it is over 200, water meters that have been added.
Yeah.
200 and, I don't know why that's different. Oh, because they haven't had any use. Yeah,
Well, and they're a little
238,
behind
yeah.
in putting them in for the billing because
Yeah.
that billing would have picked up only the meters installed by halfway through the last billing cycle.
yeah, yeah, so they're getting there. You can see it in the utilization. Is, you know, the metered utilization is going up, so,
So this is February, January. Yeah,
yeah, so it's through December
yeah, so
probably.
your number would be only through December 15.
Yeah, so we would be behind on this one, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little behind. So the next item that we have are the year-to-dates on water and sewer income and expense, and that Carrie had provided and we sent around.
Do you all have a copy?
Yeah,
Ann and Pam, you
I've
don't
got
have
a couple extras here.
Oh, you've got some extras on you?
Give me a minute. I've got an extra one here. Actually, I've got two extra ones. So I
I'm gonna make one work.
I've got one more, Rick.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I've got three here.
Great.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, to grab a city report. Oh, do you have a city report up here? Annual report, is there one hiding on that?
The recent
Yeah, yeah. I meant to grab it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You wanna walk us through it, John?
Sure, so the first page is sewer, and the top part is sewer income. And actual relative to budget, and actual is actual billed, as I understand it.
Correct.
And because of the rate adjustments, actual relative to budget is 89.9%, 3 billings in. And then,
Before we go on, now that we're on that 1.279 figure, do we want to compare that to our actual expenses?
yeah, so if you keep going down that column, the total income in the sewer department is the 1,461,000 figure. Essentially 84.5% of budget projections. And then if we, just going down to the very bottom line, which is the bottom of page 3, income year-to-date compared to expenses year-to-date, we're 292,000 to the good. But there are a few and then different categories are under, some categories are over. Personnel is over, and that's in large part, as I understand it, because of the time spent in well, actually, water meters aren't allocated to sewer, are they?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
They're on the water. I'm thinking to myself.
I'm sorry.
I said I'm thinking to myself. Yeah. So on the expense side, the sewer collection bottom line expenses are 46% of budget at this point. Sewer plant is at about 51% of budget. Sewer administration is about 65% of budget. Personnel is at 103% of budget. And the miscellaneous category is 58% of budget.
Yeah, and I'm seeing personnel, those percentages are over 100 because we weren't accurately budgeting for benefits, right?
That's correct.
Now
Yes.
that's corrected.
And that's been corrected in this year's.
Yeah,
But the budget as set initially hasn't changed because we have to keep it as,
Correct, you keep the budget that we established a year ago the same regardless of
okay.
how out of touch it may actually have been.
yeah, and this is the budget that was established essentially February a year ago, January a year ago, January of '25. And right, the benefits were not correctly budgeted. That's the note that I've got here. In the capital expense category, there are a couple of items here that weren't budgeted or were under budgeted, but as I understand it, those are covered, supposed to be reimbursed by grants. One is the CSO engineering item, and the other is the CSO material item. So it shows that we're 2,114% over budget, but that's just because we had to pay the bills before the grant money comes back to offset them.
And the new budget has offsetting line items, so you won't see that again.
Right. Right. And then debt service has come in at 86.89% of budget year to date. And there are a couple of items that are over in there, but there are a couple of items that show zeros because they were budgeted but actually had been paid off in the prior year's budget. So there's some offset there.
I wasn't clear, could you please explain, is actuals actually the actual amount that was billed, or is that the actual amount that we took in?
Where,
On the revenue side, once we
Yeah.
bill it, it's considered income in accrual accounting. So even if we haven't taken it in yet, so for instance, what that revenue line means for rate income, it includes all of the bills that just went out a couple of weeks ago,
So-
even though most of that money hasn't yet hit us.
So that's the 1,279,000.
That's right.
correct.
Is that true every time I see actuals for income? It's when you bill?
Yes, yes, in accrual accounting, you bill it whether or not it comes in, or you count it as income whether or not it's in the door.
It's just as soon as you invoice.
Right.
Right.
It's- I don't think that's necessarily true on the city budget, because I don't think you show all of the actual for the tax revenue. With this being an enterprise fund, I think
You may be
are
right
correct.
about that.
Yeah.
So it
I
is, this
talked
is-
with Chip about this today, which is why I'm confident in saying I know it's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
and
think in
it
the
would
regular
be-
budget, it's
yeah.
actually when you bring the money in.
Yeah, this is different because of the enterprise accounting. So, his answer is correct to these two specific funds.
But not true for the enterprise budget that we created. The income, when we say we took in the income on the budget side, is that when you billed or is when you got the money?
The budget is future, so all of it is future. So we were anticipating whatever it was amount
Yes, but
Yeah.
you have a thing that you put out eventually that says, this is the budget, like in the annual report, it says, this is what we budgeted, and this
then
is
you have
the
the actual,
income that
yeah.
we brought in. Now, is that the income you brought in, or is that the bill that you sent out?
The actual in accounting, if you go to accrual accounting, is going to be what's billed. What your liabilities are, your assets on your balance sheet, is going to be the difference between what you billed and what you've received. And at businesses, you know, big businesses, allowance for bad debt, we have that type of allowance in there that is the anticipation that you are not going to get the full
I
money.
still am having trouble with it, because it's important that we talk about the fact that our budget is a cash flow budget. And that means we're not on an accrual basis in the budget.
No, if you're talking about the enterprise fund, in fact, it's not a cash flow budget. It's an accrual budget. That's what we're saying.
And you're saying that the numbers that go into the annual report, when it talks about income,
So I think, okay, I want to be careful because we're beyond what I would want to say without checking. But I think the answer to your question is, on the annual report, what you're looking at is the numbers that have been through the audit.
and that would be the actual income you brought in.
I'm not positive, but I think so.
I think I need
Because
to know that eventually.
It's a question more for the auditors.
That's
who
right.
would be able to somewhat tell if we knew what the projected income was.
That's not projected income, that's actual, well, I think it's income that you got.
Bill.
It looks like, based on the budget to actual, that if you carry that across, then yes, the actual is the amount billed, not necessarily the amount received. Question is, and there should be,
and then it would show up on a balance sheet as,
yeah.
as
And somewhere is a
accounts
balance
receivable.
sheet that would be in the audit, but I don't think we have a copy of the audit here. There's one online. But it's sort of one of those things, and also to your point, they're using the debt service further on in this report, where it's correct. And then in the future, they have, this is depreciation, is in there with the debt service. And I have a question about how they're doing that, because it looks like it's a placeholder. It's nowhere close to what the real depreciation is, but why they're doing that is, I missed the point on that. So, but to your point, apropos of depreciation and things like that, does offset the debt service, principal and interest.
so
You buy a piece of
I
equipment.
understand what you're saying. I'm hesitating about whether or not we want to go down the road on
We don't wanna go
depreciation
down,
tonight.
no.
I have an answer to it. I'm not sure tonight's the night to do
No,
it.
it's not at all, because it's not crucial to this discussion.
Yeah, I'm willing
just
to
the
have an
presentation.
answer eventually, I don't need it tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, where were we? Almost at the total?
Yeah, so anyhow,
Appreciation.
the debt service, you know, we had, some of the new loan wasn't budgeted for, but then there were payments on a couple of the older ones that were budgeted, but the older ones were in fact paid off the year before. So that helps to offset. And Carrie wrote me a note that said at year end, we'll have savings of about $47,000 due to budgeting for the loans which were actually paid off in the prior year, but budgeted, payments were budgeted, which will partially offset the $83,000 in payments for the new loan that wasn't budgeted.
Okay.
So there's a, whatever that is, a $36,000 spread, I think, that will show a shortfall at year end on that, as opposed to a shortfall for the whole thing. But yeah, keeping in mind that the budget for the current fiscal year for these funds was essentially completed by January of 2025. And so we're a year and months in there now. So that's where we're at on sewer year-to-date, I mean, on paperwork, like I said, 292,000 to the good. On the water side, 3/4 or 3 billing cycles out of 4 in, we're showing that our revenues are 92.5% of what was budgeted. And that's reflected based on the rate increases. And then there were a couple of other items that were not budgeted, which were some interest income, and then a reimbursement related to the water tower, $47,500 that's in there.
So the important number is the 87.66%.
Yeah.
Which is close to
Yeah, exactly.
89.9. Yeah.
Yeah, the 87.66 is the number to be focused on.
Yeah.
And then the same issue with payroll taxes again in this account, in terms of the budget numbers don't match.
So I have a question on water meters.
We budgeted 50.
Right.
We've spent, the other 95 over and above that is coming from the bond proceeds.
Okay, so I guess I wasn't expecting what was coming from the bond proceeds to show in the line item of the budget.
Yeah, it'll show here because it's an actual expense, but we will show income when we take that bond income in to offset that.
Okay, so you're gonna show it, you're gonna add a line item for that.
Well, I don't know that we'll
Income
add a
side.
line item, but there will be, Chip has a plan
Okay.
for how it will be accounted for.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when that's all settled, then that line will balance out at 50.
It will either just show 50, or I think what's more likely is it will show we spent who knows how much, 200,000.
Right.
And it will show an offset of 150,000 in
Okay.
income toward that
On-
item. You'll be able to track it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, on
Good. That's what I'm looking for.
And we've known from the beginning that we won't, anything above 50,000 will come out of that
Yeah,
2.603
Okay.
million that we went to
yeah, I
the bond
get,
bank.
like I said, I was just expecting to see the bond expense in its own line item, that's all.
Yeah, I don't quite know how we're gonna do that yet. We'll know in a little bit.
Okay.
because We're about to go get the bond.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so we have the issue of, the payroll taxes and the like again. And then in water distribution, the materials item, which has a huge variance, is basically materials for the Lakemont Water Project, I'm told. And that's where, and if I remember correctly, Carrie said that some of that is going to be reimbursed by Lakemont in some fashion.
Well, at some point in time.
Yeah, can you just, for folks who don't know, Tom, can you just review kind of what the agreement was and where we are in the process?
So an agreement that the city council had made with Lakemont was that the city would install the water main labor-free. Same as what Campbell Water was many years ago. So once it's all said, once the project's complete, I'll tally up all the materials, the engineering, and then we will send a bill to Lakemont to have them distributed amongst all the residents there.
Are they going to pay it over time like Campbell did, or is it going to be a lump
See,
sum?
they had the option at Campbell's, I remember this years ago, they could either take it out in their normal billing, or the option to just pay it up front. A lot paid it up front, others, they billed it.
Yeah.
Over, I don't know how much, I'd have to check that.
Because I know in the Campbell subdivision, some people, even though the option was set up to pay it over time, I know some people just paid their share of it.
Yeah.
So-
Interestingly enough, on the one of the printouts of the bills, the Campbell loan still shows.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
because
it's
it was
zero. I've never seen anything
So
filled
we're
in.
gonna, just so y'all know kind of where we are, Tom and his crew last early fall finished the harder part of the project that had been undone for years. We'd just not gotten around to it. And they went in because the ground was so dry, they were able to get into the area that had been bog before and where they couldn't work. And they finished that part. And then it got cold and the ground got too hard. But as soon as the ground is thawed, we've all agreed that they'll go back in and finish the easier side of the community with the new main on the, what is effectively the east side, I think, of the properties. And at that point, we'll sit down with them and say, okay, now how would you like to handle the billing on the materials that you all agreed to and the engineering surveys?
So are they turning that system over to the city?
Yes.
So there'll be deeds and right-of-ways and all that?
Oh, yeah.
That's all been arranged.
That's-
That's part of what bogged it down for so many years.
Gotcha.
I initially bought the materials, the water main materials back in 2018. And then with engineering and moving the location of a few parts of the main a few times, that's why we waited so long, was
Gotcha.
basically for the easements.
Yeah.
And the easements were completed a couple of years ago now, and so they came back to, actually they called me last spring and said, hey, can we have a conversation about this? And so Tom and I went out and talked with them a couple of times, and Tom was able to prioritize the hard.
We had started it and laid about 600 feet of it,
Yeah.
and then got into the swamp and just and
Buried a truck.
And surprisingly, as dry as it was last year, it was perfect. I mean, it was wet, but nothing like we had anticipated hitting.
So that one should be all cleaned up, I think, by springtime, or late spring.
There's several undeveloped lots down there. Are they included in this?
The water mains will be,
The mains there.
the mains will be in existence.
So will the currently undeveloped lots have the hookup fee?
That would be up to the association whether they want to build them or not. We're not leaving, per se, we're not leaving a curb stop there for them. So they'll all pay for it, and if the association wants to charge
levy
somebody
certain
after
charges.
the fact, that's up to them.
Okay, they can sort that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That one feels good. It's been sitting around for a long time, so I'm really hopeful we'll be cleaned up in a couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have some of the same personnel variations as in sewer. And then there was nothing put into the water budget for the current year for interest on the water tower line of credit, and so that's in here as well. And let's see, what else? Oh, the labor expense for water lines that are capital expenditures, that's Lake Mod as well.
yeah.
And then there's an entry for the water tower project again. And then the other, going to the last page, the water tower sinking fund line, that has to do with the well redevelopments in part.
Yeah, I don't know why the wording through this whole process with Chip got changed. That was a sinking fund for the arsenic plant in the wells
Yeah.
initially, and that's where we had about 115,000 in there when we took all the money. So then we had the bid to do the redevelopment was like 68,000. And of course, we ran into issues with the first well, and now we're at 137.
Because effectively, we've done both well redevelopments this
They're
year.
both, yeah. And both wells actually, I mean, the first one had the most problems, but the other one, we had a couple of other issues that we had to deal with, but, so yeah, it did cost us twice the amount.
Yeah, but at least it's done.
It's done.
So we get down to a year-to-date bottom line in the water fund of a negative 253,000. But about 100 of that year-to-date is coming back from the bond money for water meters. Apparently another 68-odd thousand of it is coming back through reimbursements related to the water tower. And then the overage on the well redevelopment is 107, so that's 275 right there. So if we take the 168 in reimbursements off the 253, that gets it down to a negative 85,000 at this point. So we'll see how the fourth quarter plays out. And given where we stand on some of the other items, it should come closer to even by the end of the fourth quarter.
Which is to say, we're not seeing, John and I talked about it earlier today, we're not seeing the likelihood that we should be adjusting the rates at the end of the next quarter. We should
At
be
the
able to
end of
sit
this
tight
quarter, yeah.
at the end of this quarter and see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and that'll give us a full year of numbers to work with.
Thanks to a lot of pretty amazing educated guesswork that y'all did this year.
Can I ask a dumb, basic question? How do you decide when I get a bill that, let's say, I don't know what the proportion is, that 40% of that money that you get from me goes to water and 60% goes to sewer? How is that ratio determined?
It's based on these figures. They're two totally separate budgets that are billed on the same structure. It's why you've got a water part of your bill and you have a sewer part of the bill.
It's two different departments building
Yeah.
on one sheet of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you don't do it 50/50, you must
No,
do it
we
based on.
base it on the budget.
Based on the billing rates.
Gotcha.
That's why we're looking, that's why we totaled what is water, what is sewer. They're two different
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than your property tax bill includes both the municipal
Yeah.
budget and the school budget.
Yeah.
Two totally different entities, but it happens to be on one sheet of paper.
Nice.
Saves a few $1,000 in postage if nothing else.
Interesting, I don't know. I know we talked about meter installs being around $500 or thereabouts. We're currently at $416.88. It's
amazing.
by amount to what we
Okay.
spent, so.
It's really great.
That's almost 20%
That
less.
crew has done, I mean, when you think about what we were saying was ambitious back in August for that crew, and they've surpassed it several times over.
I need to, I think we've talked about it in past meetings, but I'm hoping spring starts to pick up, but boy,
Have you got
the
any calls?
last week wasn't bad, seemed to pick up a little bit, and this week was, maybe one.
Dropped off again.
Yeah, it drops off, so we really need to get.
Calls or installs?
Well,
Both.
balls, really,
Okay.
because if they're calling, we're trying to set it up.
Okay.
I suspect that the surge was about the bills that went out. And kind of reminded
And I would have
people.
thought that we would have got another surge, but
Yeah.
we haven't.
At this point, we've had more people complain about the bills than the
Enough.
surge, which is really sort of very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of them obviously are people with meters that, there's something that's going haywire.
I mean, we can start going back out again door to door. We're kind of getting into a point of the season for us, for the guys, where if we're not plowing, we're in between seasons.
So it'd be nice time to send them out knocking on
So it'd
doors.
be really nice to get 2 crews going if I had the numbers, really.
I got a question.
Yeah.
When you guys are doing the door hangers, like you're knocking, seeing if someone answers, and then doing the hanger?
Well, it should be.
It should be. It really should be. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just hanging it on the door.
And it's
it'd be
just
home.
fire starter. Yeah.
So we're gonna get a little bit more aggressive, just so you
Good,
know.
good.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If somebody refuses to let you on their property to install, what's the plan to build them going forward?
We have to figure that out.
We haven't gotten there, but we've had a lot of conversation about it.
Okay.
By late summer, I suspect that there will be a pretty big stick involved with people who have not been complaining.
Yeah.
Which one?
I think we revert to the language from 1900 that says either we cut off their water or double their bill. So
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, that talk about precedent. Like, you got it right here. Right? You guys like an old charter. Well, here's your old ordinance. So,
One of the issues that is coming up, it's coming up, obviously not in this room, but elsewhere, is those who have wanted a meter to be installed and for whatever reason with their particular plumbing setup are not able to have it until X, Y, and Z is done, which requires them to hire a plumber and do whatever. We can't all afford that. How is that going to get handled? I mean,
eventually it's gonna be their obligation, and they'll pay it one way or another. Because if they don't do it, their bills will go up, and it will
Right.
eventually be obvious to them that the smart money is to pay the plumber to come do it.
Okay, that sounds all well and good, but a lot of seniors are on fixed income.
I get it.
And even a little deviation in the budget,
Yeah.
it's a catch-off. Either they go without food, they go out without medicine. Just to have a water meter installed is just, look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and I think we have that. I mean, John has drafted a,
We're working
Charter
on,
of-
we're working on coming up
Tweak it.
with a formula or an approach where we define a point at which it's uneconomic or infeasible to put a meter in.
Right.
Based on dollars. And we just haven't come up with a number yet as to what the cutoff is. Is it $500 of plumbing, $5,000 of plumbing? Is it structural modifications? You know, what are they? Like, if the structural modification is basically moving a cabinet in your basement that's blocking the water line, that might be one thing. But if it involves, you know, cutting into walls and that sort of thing, or if you're on a slab and there's no place to put a meter other than building some kind of outside vault at $10,000, that's another thing. We haven't figured out what those cutoff points are yet.
I don't think we also have enough, based on Tom's guide, we don't have enough data points as to like what are the challenges that people are facing. I think they've got 30 some odd modifications required, but we don't know how many people are going to require modifications, how many are not really constructible.
Yeah, and we know some people have already done modifications because some of the meters have been put in by plumbers after the modifications.
A bunch of
were
them,
done.
actually.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
A bunch of them.
The other thing, the last meeting we talked to, once we get down to what I'm hoping's that 100 that are, you know, ones we just don't know what to do with, or we need to go back and revisit, would be myself, even if I have to hire a plumber, somebody to go in with the staff and physically look at the constraints and see, okay, let's put our heads together and see how we can actually modify it to make it work.
Yeah, maybe something like that could be done based on the individual's income. You know, have a low income level where if you're below the poverty level, we're gonna go in and we're gonna pay a portion of the work.
Yep. I mean, just to be clear, part of the reason we haven't had this conversation yet is because we don't want to have it until we're really clear about how many people we're talking about and what the real issues
Sure.
are for them.
Right.
Or
So
you-
I suspect that we're looking at this conversation sometime this summer as we come down the home stretch and there are 200 meters still uninstalled.
Well, in the meantime, you're not gonna start charging people.
No, we haven't had any conversation.
Okay.
No.
And even if it could be, say, a loan to the person who's not going to be able to get a loan from a plumber,
Right.
but there's no way they can pay it
Yeah.
straight away.
Yeah, there's a big difference, I think, in all our minds between somebody who refuses to let us on the property
Right.
and somebody who said, yes, come on the property, and I can't handle a $1,200 bill,
Right.
right, to do this.
Right.
So we're aware of that and talking about it.
And the type of thing that was done at Campbell Cottages in terms of spreading out the cost, or that might be done at Lakemont, depending on what they decide,
Yeah.
is exactly the same sort of thing. You could, you know, build it in as a small amount each quarter into
Oh.
the charge.
Yeah, is there, I mean, I know that we've borrowed money strictly from water meters. If we're not costing, if it's not costing, if we're saving $84 per water meter than what we budgeted, is there a way to use that savings to then cover the modification costs and then bill that person quarterly with a 0% loan kind of arrangement? Is that,
That's what I'm saying.
okay,
But you-
okay. I wasn't familiar with what, with,
not out of water meters, because I don't think the bond would allow anything but water meters.
water
But
meter
it is water
installation.
meter. It's still water meter installation. I don't
Is that
know. It's a
allowed
question
in
for a
bond?
lawyer,
Yeah,
probably, to find out if there's something in the language that would prohibit
Yeah,
it, but.
not knowing exactly how the original bond was worded.
yeah.
That's the real issue, is how flexible it is the wording in
Yeah.
terms of what we can use it for.
And also, we might not want to bond out for 25 years for installation.
Correct.
Sure.
So-
So you were saying we do this already where?
Well, the water line extensions that were done out on the Campbell Road off the Lake Road are being at least partially paid for exclusively by the people in that neighborhood. It's a surcharge on their water bills. And
Okay.
the cost of that project, whenever it was done 10, 12 years ago, was divided and based on the number of properties that were hooking up to it. And people had the choice of, writing a check for their share up front or just having it added onto their bill for a period of years, so much a bill. And some people did one, some people did it the other way. And I don't know, that must be pretty near the end now.
I think
God,
everybody's
that was
paid
more than
off.
10, 12 years ago too. That was
Yeah,
Yeah.
talking, I think,
Right.
20.
but
I
get to John's
haven't
age, it
seen
slows
it, I mean,
down.
Stacy would know. But it shows up as a line item on some of the bills.
right. And,
One of the printouts of the bills, and I've never, looking at the complete, 200 pages, 300 pages of bills, ever seen a number in that.
so maybe it's completely paid off,
I
but the
think-
line item happens to still be
I would
there in the
think-
I would
system.
think that's been paid off for a while.
Oh, yeah, my feeling is it's totally paid off. I've never seen a
Yeah.
number in that.
And that project was done.
I've looked at a lot of those.
That project was done because that whole neighborhood was on a private community water system that was going to cost hundreds of thousands, if not seven figures, to redo. And it was actually cheaper for them to hook up to the city than to,
It was contaminated because of their septic systems were too close to it.
yeah, that too, because a lot of those lots were
That's a
created back in the early 60s before there were any septic system regulations. Lakemont's a little different. I don't know if do you have town sewer at Lakemont now? Or is it
Oh,
still?
yeah. Well, we installed the sewer system back in 2000 to open up Lakemont Industrial Park.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So, and there was a inadequate water lines down there, but they've always had city water from the
Yeah,
60s.
they've always had city water.
And so the Lakemont one's a little different because that's replacing an older inadequate system that was too small for the neighborhood basically, and I think it was leaking in a lot of places and had a lot of other issues.
We just fixed one the other day.
Sounds cold.
On the
When did
section
the
we didn't
rounds
quite
go out?
finish.
Yeah.
So,
And
the guys were anxious to get down there. and
I'll
finish
bet they're ready to finish it, yeah. So we can leave this behind, but, I really don't think we can have this conversation till we're down to the last, 150, 200 meters. And then we go line by line and try and figure out what's the problem, what's impeding us here. Is it they're not allowing us on? It's that it's an impossible situation or it's just not feasible financially, no matter who does it. Is it because this particular person can't afford a $700 bill? And then we try and work to respond to those.
Yeah, because we're going to have several subsets of
That's
the
right.
issue.
It'll all be different, and it makes no sense to guess at what it's going to look like.
Right.
So for what the guys are recording in the field, if it says, I forget what the number was, you couldn't install a meter for structural or is there information on their sheet that we can look at?
Well, they're supposed to be taking pictures.
Okay,
So, and I reiterated that a number of times. So Corey's tracking it on the computer, so we can then take our final list if they haven't called us to say it's a structural or even a plumbing thing.
yeah,
Generally, the plumbers are installing it.
right,
If the plumber's gotta go in there and alter stuff, it doesn't take much to slap that
Right.
meter in 10 minutes and it's in.
yeah,
So the structural part would be more of the question, and the guys have like I said at the last meeting you weren't here, Paul, I think once we get down to that final number,
yeah,
that we actually just go out and we have to revisit these places and say, okay,
Yeah.
what is really impeding us here, and how can we attack it and get it in?
yeah,
If we can do it with ourselves.
right.
Yeah. So really it's not a easy install, it is, what can we do that's gonna
Right.
tweak this to make it in this?
And you gotta keep in mind too, some of them, if they're galvanized coming into the property,
Yeah.
hooking on with brass, and that's kind of another scenario. There are parts that we can use. I'm a little leery to use them. So that's gonna have to be a question we're gonna have to figure out.
Yeah.
Technically brass and galvanized don't coincide, but if you got gaskets separating them, you're still using a compression type of fitting in the house. That's a concern.
Yeah.
So.
So the other thing we started last time were, and we've been kind of talking around some of that at this point, but it may be early, but we had started talking about the idea of an interim amendment to the ordinance to deal with some of these issues, and looked at some language last time. And then Jennifer sent me some notes relating to tidying up a couple of things in the draft, and there was a couple of them.
Hopefully it's the correct one.
Yeah, a couple of them were just fixing typos type things, and language changes. One thing that she noted that we talked about last time and we had a question about was whether or not the data logs are useful as opposed to meter tests, and under what circumstances they're useful. Because I had originally written it to say, if a customer believes that the water usage recorded by the meter is too high, the customer may request a meter test, a data log analysis, or both. And so the question came up last time, or the time before, I forget which, as to whether the data log analysis actually had any value in dealing with a water usage too high issue, or.
I think the first step would be the data log,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And generally,
There is somebody waiting online.
Ooh,
Tracy Ashton.
thank you. And generally, it's gonna give you a lot of information on, time of day, is it continuous?
Yeah.
When it all of a sudden spiked or peaked or something.
Yep, testing is basically pulling that meter and testing it.
Yeah.
And to me, to test a residential meter, for the cost,
Yeah, just swap.
Do you have a test station?
I don't.
Oh, so that's why it's expensive, yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would make sense, I mean, because if the customer ultimately could end up paying for a meter test, I would do the data log at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I've said to customers, if they are adamant they want the meter to be pulled out and tested, then, and if it comes back,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it, they're gonna pay the test.
so we just have to make sure, clear it up, that, data log, and then go, and I think we discussed this. First option is data log, and second is meter, but it's written, may request a meter test, a data log analysis, or both. And obviously you want to stress the data log first,
Yeah.
because that's the quick, easy, and inexpensive cure.
And I guess the question is, if we just say, request a test, there's nothing saying anything about a cost.
Right.
Yeah, but further on in the existing ordinance, there is actually a standard as to who pays and what circumstances. The existing
She's
ord,
given up, she's logging back on.
the existing ordinance says that if the meter registers less than 2% fast, the customer will be charged the cost of removing, transporting, testing, replacing the meter. If the service meter registers more than 2% fast, the water bills for the past 6 months will be adjusted and a credit given to the customer. If a meter registers more than 10% slow, the customer will be charged.
In addition to the cost of removing, transporting, and testing,
Yeah.
and reinstalling the meter, and an adjusted charge for the past 6 months. My comment about the whole thing was that it would not inspire me to have my meter tested, no
Right.
matter what,
Right.
yeah. So I'm wondering, how we rewrite it to do that as an inspiration.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, further up, there's an issue, or there's also a provision in the current ordinance that says that if a meter isn't registering, the city will charge the customer for a quantity of usage comparable to the customer's prior usage during the same season of the past year, as long as all other conditions remain the same. So the suggestion was to change it to say that if a meter doesn't register water usage, and the customer fails to cooperate with the city's efforts to rectify the issue for 2 consecutive billing periods, then there would be a surcharge.
Yeah.
Because we should, I mean, the city should know when they do their reading that the meter's not registering. You can't put that on the homeowner.
Yeah, but I
Exactly,
think,
yeah.
I think I spoke to Stacy about this, and her suggestion was because they do have a couple of meters since they've been installed have 0 red.
Yeah.
And they can't get back in.
Yeah.
And she said the easiest is to establish some sort of flat thing that meter is not reading correctly, and she presses a button and that amount will get charged. To go back and prorate to, you know, prior year's usage, and if it would be the case of, you know, if they had a meter and didn't have a meter, their usage changes, I think we just come up with a flat fee.
Yeah, well, you
And
know,
then the percentage increase for however many, you know, quarters you fail to let somebody in.
yeah, she suggested to me that the simplest way to do it from a programming point of view would just be to use as a surcharge some percentage of the water base rate.
Yeah,
And whether you effectively say that if you refuse to cooperate in getting the meter fixed, you know, your base rate doubles until
Yeah.
you get it fixed.
Right.
you know.
I'm gonna interrupt for just a second. Hey Tracy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. It was my mistake. I just totally spaced getting on.
So did the rest of us.
Welcome.
I didn't check messages and then I
Yeah.
saw it flashing.
Glad you're here and glad that Pam caught that you were trying to get in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because if somebody's got a slow meter and you think it's slow and you tell them you want to check their meter, and if it's slow, you're gonna back charge them, you're not, I mean,
You're not coming
just,
in.
just forget
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Just, if it's slow, put on your big boy pants, suck it up, put a
yeah.
new meter in and move
Yeah.
on.
So I just think, you know, that'll, something could be put there, but obviously, you know.
Right.
How much does a data log test cost?
We're not charging for it.
Well, how much does it cost you? Is it manpower or
It's just
more?
manpower.
Okay, all right.
I mean, the unit, I don't even remember what the unit cost us when we bought it, but,
Had it for
you know,
ages.
at the time, I used it as, you know, here's a benefit we're offering to people. If
Yeah.
you've got a problem, we certainly want to
Yeah.
help
Yeah,
solve the issue.
well, that's what I wanted to know, if we.
It doesn't take that long. I
Right.
mean, he might be at the house for 15, 20 minutes, you know. And then he can print it off and send it to him
Yeah.
and email it. And,
Yeah,
you know, like I said, in most cases, it comes, you know, you can do it as a graph or
Yeah.
multiple different ways, and it becomes pretty clear that
Yeah.
there's something going on in the
Yeah.
house.
and pulling a meter is gonna be more extensive, because you've gotta,
No, if we pulled a meter and slapped another meter in, that'd take us 10 minutes. That's
Right.
even less time.
okay,
But the other meter's gotta be sent out to be tested.
If that's what you're gonna do. I guess it would all depend on, I haven't done one for quite a while. I guess I'd have to check to see what the cost would be. Say it's gonna cost me $150, and that's a 10-year-old meter. We bought the meter for $300. I mean, does it make sense to even test it anything?
Right.
And their useful life is what, 20 years?
20 years.
So, yeah, at that point, if it's that old, just replace it and be done with it.
That's, yeah. I mean, you can replace the heads on them after 20 years, but now you got, the housing's 20 years old, and the cost between the two is, you're talking maybe $50, so it's
Right.
really, you might as well just replace the whole thing.
Is there a warranty on these things? Is it just like a year?
If the head, so it's
Right.
basically the head and the battery. The battery has a 20-year life, and they have replaced. We've had a few that have,
Okay.
you know, you're gonna have, anything will malfunction,
Yeah.
and they will replace it,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
all
So-
things to be really
so-
consider, you know.
So it sounds like we're dropping the less than 5% slow. Is that what Paul suggested?
Well, definitely C.
C.
Has to go.
10%.
Well, yeah, and the current ordinance distinguishes between residential and commercial. It said
Right.
residential 10% slow, but anything other than strictly residential 5% slow.
So,
And in both cases, it probably makes sense just to replace meters. Or
well, what size commercial meters do you have? Do they have UMEs in them? You can just pop the UME out?
I'm not sure, I have to check with Jason.
What what size are we talking? 4, 6, 8 inch?
We may have a couple 6s, I know we have a bunch of 4s.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking out of money for that size meter.
Yeah, because, well, I'm assuming they're Neptune.
Yeah, and they're also, most of the bigger ones are compound, so you get
Right.
low flow and high flows. And
So they should have the bolt-in UMEs. You just,
well, use this for instance, the prison, the issue we had with the prison.
yeah,
We rebuilt it,
yeah,
and then that next quarter or two after that, we were still getting the same readings. So then, there was so much political pressure there that we said, okay, we pulled it, put a new one in it, and sent it out to be tested, and there was nothing wrong with it.
yeah.
They just changed. That's why I'm a little confused at the high and the low. How are we really gonna know what's high and low? Say you go through your, say their readings have dropped off, so you're guessing, well, maybe the meter's reading lower,
Right.
But who's to say those people didn't do some low flow fixtures in their house and they're just using less water and. Oh, that to me is a little
Oh,
confusing.
you're talking on the residential side.
Yeah, I'm not talking the.
I'm not talking on the commercial side. Okay.
Yeah, well, the whole issue of the 2% fast, 2% slow, 10%, 5%, that all comes into play only if a customer specifically says that they think their readings are wrong and they ask for a test or a data log or a test or analysis.
Okay.
But, say your meter's registering 10% fast to make up a number. The only part of the bill that's going to be affected is the water usage part of the bill.
Right.
And it's going to be pretty insignificant compared to the cost of going through all the testing.
Right.
I mean, anytime the city questions a meter and tests a meter or anything, I mean, that should never go back to the residents. I mean, that was the city's call, the city did it. If you have a resident that is just not a happy person and complaining all the time, and then you've got to pull the meter and then you've got to test it, that's when you get into we can do this, but here's our first step, 0 cost. Our next step is going to cost you,
Yeah, I never considered billing for data logging. That's just a service we offer to help people out.
So I think what we have to do is think about this and think about what the, various scenarios are. As long as you can get into the house, if we think it's reading wrong, we should be able to get in for the city. I think that we've got some residents clearly where, they feel they felt their bill was maybe high to begin with. The next one, there's no way. So I think that, somehow inspiring them to come to us is what we really want. So how do we work it out? And I think this is all penalties. So we have to rewrite it in a more positive way.
Well,
Type thing.
and this is the goal here really is to get at the people where the city realizes there's a problem and they simply won't let you in to deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Where people voluntarily step forward, it's a completely different issue.
Right, exactly.
And so we're trying to deal with both scenarios.
Yeah, and I think we have to split them apart.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can rejoin them into one. But I think this is something where you really have to think about what your various scenarios are.
Right.
But what's
because-
written there, I think, is basically sort of, not that it's out of date, it's pointless.
Well, because the very first sentence of that entire section, which is in the current one and proposed to be carried forward, simply says meters which malfunction without fault of the customer shall under normal circumstances be removed and replaced at the city's expense.
Yeah.
So anybody who's cooperative who says there's a problem with my meter, or where the city sees a problem with the meter, the city just goes in and does it. We're really trying to, beyond that, we're trying to focus on the situations where either there's no cooperation
Yeah.
or there's a dispute as to whether there's an issue or not. You know, is the meter wrong, or is it that you have a slow leak somewhere that's consuming the water? And in any event, you know, we're trying to deal with all of those scenarios.
Yeah, and I think we have to break it apart. And we'll get the structure on how we're gonna handle the people who refuse to let us in to meter.
Right.
I think you can mirror that in here for going in the future.
Right, and in what I just said, I just reminded myself that the question had been raised as to whether we refer to customers or property owners.
Yeah, that was-
Well, the entire current ordinance uses the term customer, but then defines customer.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's an actual definition in it, and the gist of it is customers, the term used throughout the ordinance, and is defined as the owner of the property, whether or not they're the ultimate user. So it's a definitional thing, and rather than trying to go through and
Just leave it the
amend,
same.
in terms of this interim amendment, it doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense to try to change the terminology.
As long as that's there.
Yeah, so
couldn't
it's
remember.
in the
Yeah.
definitions, so it's covered.
I want to go back to water takers.
Water takers?
They call it.
Oh, the
That reminds me
1900
of
water
a bucket,
takers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you can't have anybody use your tap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
water takers and non-takers.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, what we're looking for teeth to get into places, you know, where we're getting denied access, I mean, that should all fall under section 404. And be completely separated from
Yeah.
section 403, where we talk about, you know, if you are questioning a meter.
yeah.
Yeah, because, well, let me see here.
Well, I mean, you have to be able to mention when a customer fails to cooperate, right?
Right.
So do we just put 404 in front of 403, and then it's already,
Well, if we kind of go back to the beginning, 401 just deals generally with installation. And
I'll make copies for folks who don't have
I modified it,
Note.
it. It doesn't matter.
All right, hopefully.
and it deals with,
I'll be right back.
in instances where no structural or plumbing modifications are required to install, the city pays to do it. In instances where structural or plumbing modifications are required and feasible, customer pays for the modifications and the city furnishes and pays for the meter. And then we had the situation in instances where either structural or plumbing modifications are required but are not feasible due to cost or impractical due to unique physical or environmental characteristics of the property. Then what I set up was a procedure for people to get a waiver, and we'd have a waiver flat rate for people who try in good faith but can't do it. Like, you know, say it's a $10,000 or $15,000 construction project at your 2-bedroom house. Well, obviously that's beyond the pale. To make an extreme example up, but the council sitting as the water and sewer board could specifically approve a waiver, and that's where ultimately, when we get down to that final list of 50 or 100 or whatever it is, we have to come up with some guidelines for the council acting as the water and sewer board as to how you do it and what the cutoff point is. And in some cases, it's going to be due to physical impossibility or impracticability. Like if somebody described a property, and I can't remember if it's the condos down there, where you'd have to build some kind of waterproof subterranean vault in the water table, and it would be
I had it on my.
5 figures to build the thing. Something like that doesn't make any sense necessarily, but the idea being that there would be specific waivers granted, and
So,
then a procedure created to record those waivers for posterity's sake.
so Paul, would you feel better if past 401, 2, 3, maybe meter accessibility is higher up, but then past a bunch of those, even remote meters, and then past this exception by waiver, there was a section specifically related to customers who fail to provide access to the property. Then you can talk about all the things relevant to that, like surcharges or
So you're saying move 404 right after 401? Go right from,
sure. I mean, it is a.
Yeah.
I don't really know how all of this falls into the greater.
Right.
And this is, remember, Article 4 of how many, right? We're only
Right.
looking at a small.
right.
I pulled out everything that was relevant to these issues, and
Okay.
I went back through and
So-
read the whole thing today again to see if there was anything else I thought we should consider, because I was also going back to look at the customer versus owner question. And the way that this is organized, I did not change the order of the sections. And anything in it that is neither underlined nor crossed out as existing language.
Yeah. I will say, it does not make sense to talk about damage meters before you talk about access.
Correct,
So,
I agree.
okay.
I would move 404,
Uh,
change 404 to 402.
Yeah.
But I have questions on 401. The second paragraph there says, shall be located in a satisfactory location to protect against frost. I would strengthen that and say that
Inside the envelope.
the city needs to approve the location of the meter. So located in a satisfactory city-approved location to protect against frost and other damage. Now, the next line goes on to say, in no case shall the city deliver water through any meter over which it does not have exclusive control. Explain what exclusive control is.
That's in the existing ordinance, and I didn't change it because I didn't know what it should say.
Right.
Yeah, because you're right, we do.
Well,
Largely because I wanted to defer until you were here to
Okay.
get your experience on this.
and that goes right to 404, which says, inspectors of the water department or persons so authorized by the board must have free access to every building and other installation for the purpose of inspection. So does that mean I gotta give Tom a key to my house?
I don't want to.
Free is not the word to use.
Yeah.
And you're right, exclusive isn't, because that would imply the landowner themselves doesn't have control.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, and, yeah, that was in the existing one. But if you think about older, more traditional, I know when I rented a house in Portland, Maine, we had the old style water meters with the clicking gauge thing, kind of like your car odometer. And the meter actually had to come inside the house and go in the basement and read it every quarter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they, I don't know what they did, but they had some kind of a system, I'm assuming, so if you didn't let them in, you paid for the privilege of not letting them in.
I don't know, maybe reasonable access?
Explicit access.
Right. Unobstructed, anybody got ChatGPT on their?
What does it say? Unrelinquished.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure what they were intending in this prior ordinance in terms of exclusive control, whether it's that nobody actually tampers with the meter unit itself, or whether it's an access question, that's unclear to me.
What about reasonable and unobstructed access to?
How about the word scheduled?
That might work.
Yeah.
That would solve, that would cut right through a couple of things.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna be down the land unless you schedule it. Schedule means they're gonna be home for it, so.
Well, schedule, yeah, I would still add unobstructed, because if somebody lets you in their house to look the meter, but they got boxes stacked all around it, I would add unobstructed.
Yeah, schedule on.
So reasonable unobstructed scheduled access.
Like that.
Although I can tell you from my experience in that house that the meter readers didn't call us and ask us, they just showed up when they showed up. And if you weren't home, they left the door hanger, and then you had to call them, and they did a second pass through the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
I got to know the water department because of one that was locked in my cellar. So, it was an apartment complex. Remember meeting them, you know, there on the motorcycle was, Ricky, or it might have been Dave, yeah.
All right.
That wasn't that many years ago.
No, it wasn't.
So we'll say over which it does not have reasonable unobstructed scheduled access.
Two, yeah.
I got something on,
And then the city approved
free,
next to satisfactory.
2 paragraphs down,
removing a furnace.
I made a modification there as well, based on Jennifer's suggestion. The paragraph that begins with in all instances of new construction or substantial renovation, the last line said, may be performed by the city. And so I've changed it now to say may be required by the city to assure appropriate installation.
I'm sorry, where was that again?
It's,
Fourth paragraph.
on here,
Right here,
Fifth paragraph.
right here.
somewhere. Yeah. Oh, that one?
This one.
Oh,
What section are we in exactly?
Oh, yeah, go to the
second
second,
one.
yeah, this is the existing language. Go to the second part of it where it says proposed amendment. Yeah,
Right there.
right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, Tom, when someone goes to Frank with a new building application or major renovation, change in footprint, in his checklist, does he review the water hookup? And
This is a newer
is there
version,
a
you
point
know.
at which he
Oh,
would
yeah,
notice an unmetered
Okay.
hookup needs to be
Yeah.
retrofitted to a metered hookup?
No, actually, we've run into
So
that.
is yours the
recently.
216 and John, or is it later than that?
I need
I
to
just
correct
worked
that,
this
because I
up
know we've
today.
had such,
Okay.
Frank's been
So
around
what
for
is
a
our
while now,
latest
but in the
version?
past, we went through 2 or 3 zoning
Okay.
people and
Hey
never
guys,
quite
this
get,
camera, I can't record 3 conversations.
never quite get anybody to, so if he's got a project to, so they might need additional allocation.
Mm-hmm.
So a newer project, they have to put their own meter in.
Tom, I can't hear you when you talk low and away from the camera.
So, y'all, it's a balance, okay?
Yeah.
These folks are also working at things around a table. It's their meeting to which the public is invited. We're doing our best, and we will keep doing it, but let's let them have the conversations they need to have.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. So it sounds like we might need a little bit of a zoning application.
Well, there's a bigger picture issue there too, which is that portions of the current water and sewer ordinances both deal with the whole application for allocation and hookup process. And then if you go to the public works specifications, I'm not sure that's an ordinance, but it was approved by the council 10 or 15 years ago. It's a couple 100-page thick document. In that are the actual application forms for water and sewer, which are treated as 2 totally different things. The way, instead of running parallel application processes in the water and sewer ordinances, which aren't necessarily the same, what I've noticed in a number of other towns that I've looked at is they pull that whole application, allocation, hookup fee process out of those ordinances entirely and have one specific combined procedure. And then they tie that to their zoning ordinance, and they have, you know, instead of multiple page applications, they essentially have, you know, literally one extra page for water and sewer that's a check the box type thing, and consolidate it all into one place so that it's easier to administer, easier to manage, easier for applicants to understand, frankly.
And that's not just new permits, those are.
Well, it would be for, you know, if somebody's modifying and needs a bigger allocation, for
Okay,
instance,
okay.
they have to fill out the same forms.
Okay, yeah.
You know, say you're converting a retail store that has a 150 gallon a day allocation to a 50 seat restaurant. You have to come and apply for the allocations locally as part of that process, in addition to all the stuff you do with the state, because you actually need to show the state that you have the local. But instead of going through two parallel processes and two different ordinances, and then having to look in a third place to find, you know, the nitty-gritty as to how you do it, pulling it all together in one single document in one place with one application form seems like it would be a much less cumbersome way of handling the issue. And that's the direction that it seems that a number of other towns I've looked at are going in, is trying to consolidate these processes from the point of view of making it more manageable for people navigating the system.
But on that application, there's no point at which you identify whether the customer's metered or unmetered, and whether that renovation would warrant a.
Well, it can, I mean, if.
That's what I'm saying, do we need to revise?
Yeah, and that may very well be a revision that needs to take place in those forms going forward.
Yeah.
But most of with the exception of some apartment houses, tell me if I'm wrong, most of the commercial is metered at this point?
Yeah.
All except for about 15 units. And a lot of them are office complexes.
I'm thinking more for, you know, you're putting on an addition and you're not metered. And if you're putting on an addition, and you're already taking a wall down or something, then you should.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, what I'm saying is there currently is no process for Frank to recognize that an applicant for an addition is not metered, and therefore they need to become metered.
You might be slightly wrong on that.
Okay.
I do know there's something, because Stacy gets a heads up, potentially, that, you know, there might be a meter coming on new property. But I don't know whether it's specific or the fact that it's new construction and she assumes that she'll see it. But I think, yeah, we need to revise the, whatever, the zoning permit. If you're doing a substantial renovation.
Well, but the other part of it is that if we go with the idea that we set up a specific way, when we get down to that 50 or 100 or whatever it is, if we set up a system where if you applied in good faith, it can't be done for whatever reason, and you get a formal waiver from the water sewer commissioners.
And then later on.
That's recorded, and you later come in, and that's part of the idea, and you later come in because at that point you are in fact undertaking significant structural renovations.
Yeah.
And it becomes feasible to put a meter in
Yeah.
as part of those renovations, then that's when you do it.
Yeah.
And if your waiver expires because you're going to become metered as part of your renovation process.
So I do think.
The idea being that over time, you know,
They'll
those
catch up.
waiver
Yeah.
properties are, you know, eventually
catch
a number of them will be redeveloped, and that number will
Yeah.
get smaller and smaller and smaller
Yeah.
as the.
I'm just making sure that we have a way for tracking and counting
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
And I think making
procedurally.
sure it's on the zoning permit
Yeah.
is, you
Well,
know, it's a no-brainer.
That was why I was suggesting that the waiver be
Yeah.
something formal that's documented.
Yeah.
Like with the, you were saying
But
recorded with the deed or something?
I
Recorded.
think you're right, we need to, you know, put the condition that if you do substantial renovations, the waiver will be null and void.
Right.
In the ordinance itself as well as on the waiver.
What about on the sale of a house? Should it be a condition
Not
of?
necessarily.
But that doesn't necessarily
I'm
make.
just asking.
Yeah, and the reason for that is if it's a, you know, 2-bedroom, single-family house and it's a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 renovation to put a meter in, whether it's your house and you don't do it because of the infeasibility due to cost, should you impose that on whoever buys the house?
Yeah.
If it's just as infeasible.
Okay.
That would be the logic. It's
Either that or technology. Last meeting we had a
Right.
conversation that technology might change, or we might have an
right.
ultrasonic meter that you don't even need it
Right,
inside.
you can just clamp it on the button.
Yeah.
I mean, they're out there now. I don't know how the accuracies have improved since I was doing this stuff. It's a question for the companies.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but if people say are going to go in and they're going to substantially renovate that house, jack it up and put a full basement under it,
Sure.
and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing, and
Right.
it becomes suddenly feasible,
Yeah.
then your meter is part of that process, because the incremental cost of putting a meter in at that point is going to be next to zero compared to the
Yeah.
cost of the renovations.
So the zoning applications don't
We don't know.
go across your desk?
Not always, no.
Sounds like something we ought to talk about, huh?
Yeah.
Just to have a sign
Well,
off.
hold on. There's all sorts of reasons
Yeah.
you would submit a zoning application that don't have anything to do with water.
Right. Sure.
No, I'm saying
Right.
that there ought to be a checklist though, and if it does
There
have
ought
something
to
to
be
do
a
with water and
checklist,
sewer.
exactly.
It
Like
makes sense.
allocation, can we fill it? Check, you know, is it metered?
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because he's putting a deck on
Yeah,
doesn't.
that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, well, like in some towns, I know in Newport Center, for instance, there's a specific checkbox on their application. Do you need a new curb cut? Yes or no? And if you don't have a curb cut and you check yes, then the zoning application goes to the road commissioner, Tom's equivalent. For
Yeah, typically that happens here
review.
too.
Yes, yeah.
So it depends on the, you know, what the project is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of the more rural towns where with new construction, the big issue is culvert adequacy for the curb cut.
Yeah.
And so they'll condition the zoning permit on putting in a culvert of X inches in diameter
Yeah.
at the ditch or the curb cut. And sometimes the road commissioner will condition it on putting the driveway on one specific portion of the property based on site distances.
Yep.
And if you're, actually in Derby now, if you get any zoning permit at all and you have a gravel driveway and
Pave
you
it.
don't have an apron,
Pave it 25 feet.
yep, pave it 25
They make
feet.
you pay the first 25 feet. If the town road is paved, your driveway entrance must be paved, which is quite an encumbrance.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's why when I heard that, I had a driveway put in one day.
It's worth it though, think about it. There's a runoff that could happen
It's the
on some
run.
of those, yeah,
That part. It's the
Yeah.
bellying. Yeah.
yeah. It makes perfect sense.
But paving certain.
Well, we'll agree to disagree on that.
I'm being quiet because anybody who drives by
Your
my
driveway
driveway is
should
gonna know that I'm in trouble about it.
And your neighboring street too. Yeah.
And you also own the culvert.
And you own the culvert.
Yeah.
Yep.
But in many towns, they'll put it in if you buy the pipe. Anyway, that's besides the point. That's besides the point.
Because then you're gonna own it.
Yeah.
So anyway, there needs to be something in the zoning process
Yeah,
that
yeah,
includes,
when we do the complete rewrite,
Right.
there's a lot of that needs
Yeah.
to be addressed. The point behind this was just to get something done much more quickly and short term to deal with the most imminent issues.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can get into the houses and get the meters installed.
So, yeah, on that note, Paul had something about having more bite or emphasis to that.
to the, what's now 402,
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. So the 404.
Free access. We left off on free access.
Yeah.
So that's, we changed.
Yeah, that was the second paragraph of 401, the two words exclusive control in the current bylaw, change it to reasonable unobstructed scheduled access.
Okay, we'll do that same thing to 404.
And then,
Right, and then we're looking at moving 404 to become a new 402 and then renumbering.
so in 401, did you get the approved by the city for the satisfactory locations?
Well, in the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph of 401, the last line, the prior version of the draft read, may be required by the city, period. The suggested language I put in today, it would read, may be required by the city to assure appropriate installation.
Where are you reading this?
The 4th paragraph in section 4.01 in the proposed amendment section.
So it starts with in all instances, new construction or
Right.
substantial renovation?
Yeah, I mean, the way this document was written, the first 4 pages were the current language,
So, yeah.
clean, so that
Yeah.
people could see it,
So-
and then the second 4 pages were the marked up version.
Yeah.
All right,
Can I play a Rick on you? Well, John, would you read that as it's now going to be written?
There it is, there
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. I've been waiting patiently for this moment.
Yeah, so I think if you read it all, I've got some of my old wording, and unfortunately, the people in the audience seem to have my scribbles on their copy, so they might be getting
Okay,
confused.
so, yeah, I can actually read what I have as the most up-to-date version of 4.01.
Okay.
The caption would change to read, sale of water, semicolon, installation of water meters. All water except as otherwise provided will be sold by volume based upon meter readings. Meters shall be read by the city's authorized agents on a frequency established by the board. Second paragraph, except as provided in section 4.06, all connections to the public water supply system must be metered. Meters shall be furnished from inventory acquired by the city, shall be owned by the city, and shall be located in satisfactory locations to protect against frost and other damage. In no case shall the city deliver water through any meter over which it does not have, and this is the change we just made, reasonable unobstructed scheduled access. In all instances where a structure, facility, or location that is served by metered water connection is destroyed, demolished, reconstructed, or altered in a manner that requires or allows for removal of a meter, the meter shall be removed with care and returned to the city, except in those instances where the meter itself is destroyed by circumstances beyond the control of the customer, such as fire or natural disaster. In all instances of new construction or substantial renovation to any structure or facility that will be served by the public water supply system, the customer shall pay to the city the actual cost of the meter and shall pay all costs associated with its installation and with such inspection as may be required by the city to assure appropriate installation.
I would change may to will. I would make that more forceful if it was me. The installations will be, there will be
Or as shall be
required.
required by, oh, got it.
And that's because you have to a plumber has to pull a permit to install a meter, but the city can install whatever they want, because they have a general permit, right?
Right, but I mean,
Yeah, but the other part of it is that Tom wants pictures.
you
and
still-
documents.
right, Tom wants pictures,
Still wanna observe
documentations,
what the plumber did.
Okay.
depending on the size of the meter.
And you're
You
doing
want
that for the few that have been installed by third parties. They submit.
No,
Okay.
we're going back to see if we can get those.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I just changed may to shall. And then continuing, in those instances where connections in existence as of February 1, 2026 are unmetered, the city shall furnish and install meters at the expense of the city, subject to the following parameters. A, in instances where no structural or plumbing modifications are required to install the meter in a satisfactory location, all expense shall be borne by the city. B, in instances where structural or plumbing modifications are required and feasible, all expense associated with making the required modifications shall be borne by the customer, and the city shall furnish and pay for the meter. C, in instances where either structural or plumbing modifications are required, but are deemed infeasible due to cost, or are deemed impracticable due to unique physical or environmental characteristics of the property, and the board, meaning the Water and Sewer Commissioners Board, has reviewed the evidence and granted a waiver pursuant to section 4.06. No meter installation shall be required unless and until such time as renovation or reconstruction or other changes occur in such manner as to allow for satisfactory installation of the meter. The board shall include in its rate schedule flat fees applicable to residential, commercial, and industrial customers who have requested and received such waivers.
My only edit would be in your, before A, B, and C, you said subject to the following parameters. Those aren't parameters, those are scenarios or conditions. Parameters are like a statistical or modeling.
Okay, so conditions. So, and then 4.02 was damaged meters, and that's pretty short. It's just a small change. Should a meter be damaged by frost or be damaged in any other manner for which the customer is responsible, the customer shall be charged the cost of removing, repairing, repairing or replacing, and reinstalling the meter. And the only change there is essentially inserting the word or instead of and between repair and replacing, and then inserting and reinstalling. And
These are more recent changes that we.
Yeah.
right, yeah, that Jennifer had some correspondence with me on the side in terms of some edits, and that was one of hers.
Yeah.
Only half was mine.
And and then section 403 is the one about malfunctioning meters. The first sentence of that says, meters which malfunction without fault of the customer shall, under normal circumstances, be removed and replaced at the city's expense. That's current language. No change. Second paragraph under that, when a meter does not register, the two words water usage have been added. When a meter does not register water usage, the city will charge the customer for a quantity of usage comparable to the customer's prior usage during the same season of the past. It used to say just past year, and it's been changed to prior fiscal year, as long as all other conditions remain the same. And then added language, if a meter does not register and the customer fails to cooperate with the city's efforts to rectify the issue for 2 consecutive billing periods, then, beginning with the next billing period, the customer shall pay a rate surcharge each quarter equal to, and it had a formula before, but I've changed it to just read as a discussion point, equal to 100% of the water base rate, because that's an objective, easy to establish figure, and doesn't require any calculation, and probably easier to program in the system, frankly, than some kind of averaging from prior bills.
Okay, so you've dropped highest quarterly bill during
Right.
4 prior billing periods.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to one sentence, so long as all other conditions remain the same.
That's language from the current one, and the question I had there is frankly whether that should come out, because we don't know what those conditions
Well, I
are.
was gonna say, does it come out, or do we expand upon what that means? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was intended to mean in the prior one, so.
I think it means, you haven't changed you haven't gone from a residence to a commercial, or, like a farm, or you haven't gone from 2 people to orphanage, like, I don't really know.
I-
But then how would you make any adjustments if the conditions weren't the same? It's like,
Right, well, that's
So why
exactly
not
it.
make it even simpler? Why not just have it, the current base rate?
comparable to the customer's prior usage during this. We'll charge the customer for quantity of usage comparable to base rate that we,
Yeah,
and the base rate is just a flat rate that we charge.
or, whatever, we can establish a rate, whatever, 10% higher than the base rate. And just have it there so, you have 5 people who aren't, meet this condition or fail to meet the conditions. And Stacy has them keyed as, 5 for this line that's already plugged into the system. I think we just establish a dollar value, be it 10% of the current, non-metered use, that type of thing, and just make it easy.
I agree, I don't think it needs to be
Yeah,
complicated.
I mean, this whole thing of trying, I'm gonna argue that, oh, you picked the wrong one, or what happens if you have no last usage?
Well, the current ordinance has all of these complicated calculation
And I think
methods in
it would make it simple, just,
Right.
whatever, 10% of the current non-metered rate,
For people,
10% more than the current non-metered rate.
Or we'll charge 110% of the current non-metered rate, and that will get you there.
Yeah, yeah.
and this is for the people that won't let you in.
Well, no, that's
It's just for
for,
a meter that's not reading out.
Reading.
that's for the,
No.
No, I think you have different conditions for the ones who don't let you in.
Sure.
I
but-
think-
You do, so let me get this right. So they go around the city and they read the meter, and they determine, the city determines that the meter's not reading. You want a
You're-
back charge?
No, you're absolutely right. It's the meters that aren't reading that they can't get to, that they aren't being
Okay,
into.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking strictly about meters that don't register.
yeah, that's right.
We haven't got to that section yet.
Yeah,
So it can't be more than 100% of the base
yeah,
unmetered rate.
yeah. So
So-
that one would be it. It would be the non-metered rate.
So we want to charge one of our customers for our faulty equipment.
No,
But Paul, how would you charge for the water that they use even though you couldn't?
They're
get-
gonna get charged for the base rate. That's it,
That's what we're
until we
saying.
fix our meter.
That's what we're saying, 100% of the base rate. Just the
I
base
heard
rate.
10% on top of
That
that.
was her thinking that we were talking about inaccessible property.
yeah.
so if you
Okay.
change it to read when.
Equal to the unmetered base rate.
Yeah, when a meter does not register water usage, the city will charge the customer,
A rate equal to the unmetered
Base
base
rate.
rate as set by the current water sewer rate
Right.
schedule.
So what happens when we don't have an unmetered base rate anymore?
I don't think we never will.
well, we will until such time as we literally have every single property metered without exception.
So, but why is it the unmetered base rate? Again, the city's equipment failed. Why isn't it just the base rate?
It is the base
It
rate.
is the base rate.
Yeah,
You said the unmetered base
That's
rate.
the only base rate we have. at that
yeah,
point.
Well, there
is
there is a metered base rate as
Right,
well.
there's a
Yeah.
metered base
Yes,
rate and an
it's-
unmetered base
it's-
rate.
Yeah, no, this would be the unmetered base rate.
Why?
Because you can't measure the
Can't
water.
measure it.
We can't measure it, therefore.
The unmetered base rate, I guess, is, I'm not arguing, I'm just, I'm trying to follow the track.
Wait, excuse me. This probably is only gonna come into play when people will not allow somebody into the house. We've got
Well,
four.
no, that's a separate.
No, that's a
issue.
separate
Separate
section.
section.
Okay,
A
then,
separate section.
then maybe we don't need this at all.
Well, we need to charge them something. If we
Yeah.
can't get a
Base rate.
reading, we
So,
gotta charge
The
the
them.
base
base rate, they get charged the base rate. If
And-
our
and
meter fails,
329 per 1,000 gallons.
how are you gonna charge them for the 329 per 1,000
That's why
gallons?
we would use the unmetered.
No,
Rate.
your equipment failed. Why are you charging me when your equipment failed? You're just estimating. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, we're operating.
Okay, so
on-
let's think about this.
What do we estimate?
Well, it's.
We're charging you for up to 13.5 thousand gallons.
Right. But you're saying the $3 or you just said
$3.29 per thousand or whatever.
$3.29 per thousand.
That's
You
the
can't-
that's the metered. That's
right.
the
You
metered.
can't charge that.
We're not saying we're charging. We're saying we're charging unmetered base rate.
Well, the tricky part, at least during the first time that the meter doesn't read, is it reading zero because it's the February 1 reading and the people went to Florida in September and they haven't been at the house and the house has been empty and that's why it's zero?
So,
Or is it because the meter failed? You don't know the first
Yeah.
time around. And so at that point, the city gets hold of the people and is it because you're gone or is
Yeah.
it because there's something wrong with the meter? And that's where we get, and so that's where, you know, you give people the benefit of the doubt the first time around
right.
and assume it's the city failure. But then then we go into the next level, which is that if the meter isn't registering and the customer fails to cooperate with the city
Right.
for 2 consecutive billing periods, then the rate surcharge kicks in, because at
Yeah.
that point, they're just non-cooperative.
But it can't be the unmetered base rate.
Yeah, you're correct, so the metered base rate. They'll be charged for 13,500 gallons.
Which is the base rate
Yeah,
for now.
yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little bit confused before we move on. That you're going to say the scenarios. I just want to make sure I understand. I'm not arguing. Say the scenarios. You got
You'll
no.
know when he is.
No, you'll know what I'm arguing. You got no reading. You're gonna get charged $86.64 because that's the metered base rate, and then you're gonna get charged 32 thousandths of a penny per 1,000 gallons. So 32 thousandths times 13.5 or something, which is probably $38.
Back up.
Or you're just
that-
getting
No, what he's
He
saying
wants
is
to go
base
just for
rate.
the.
just the 86.
Just the 86.
No usage.
No
At all.
usage.
Right, so,
Okay,
so.
I understand now what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, so for the first quarter that it reads zero, the presumption is, you
Right.
know.
So I got a dumb question. Can you jam the radio signal off of your meter to the point where you're? I'm serious.
That's not a bad question.
We're getting people who who are concerned about the radio waves and they don't know that a microwave is 10,000 times bigger, right? So what the question is, if somebody's repeatedly not registering readings
And we know they're home.
and we know they're home,
Yeah.
That's.
are
where
we
the
getting?
penalty-
That's where we
Shouldn't
get
have
into the
gypsy.
next
Yeah.
sentence,
Right.
which is,
The repeat person is totally separate from
Yeah.
the one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, and so just to reiterate, the latest iteration of the repeat offender language is,
Right.
if a meter does not register and the customer fails to cooperate with the city's efforts to rectify the issue for 2 consecutive billing periods, then beginning with the next billing period, the customer shall pay a rate surcharge each quarter equal to 100% of the water base rate. So in other words, your base rate doubles.
Right.
That's
Then it needs to be 200%.
Exactly, yeah.
But you're just doubling the base rate.
Yeah, a surcharge equal to 100% of the base rate.
Surcharge, so it's the 100% plus another 100%.
Right, so if the metered base rate is whatever, $86, that means people are paying $172.
That's still cheaper than
Which is
metered water.
still cheaper than metered water. So I
Is
have
it? Well, yeah, so that leads to the question.
That empowers obstructionists.
Well, no, but, so that leads to the question of what is an appropriate figure to get someone's attention so that we get the
Right.
situation rectified, and we were going around on that some last
And
time.
unfortunately, we just can't turn water off because it doesn't work.
That's very difficult to do as a practical matter, so you
Right.
need to get people's attention in some other way.
I'm all for that, 400%.
And,
And include in that the concept that's in the current charter that says that the maximum amount of fine you can get is $100. I have to read that section again, but I think it's relevant because you keep calling this thing a penalty.
It is a penalty. If someone refuses to cooperate with fixing a bad meter in their house, of course there's a penalty. And it's got to be a significant penalty to get their attention.
But you've got against that your current charter that says the maximum you can charge for an ordinance violation is a $100 fine.
Per day.
I don't think it says per day, but I'll have to read it again. That may be in the state statute.
You could, yeah, so, I mean, $100 per day is way more than,
That's, our charter doesn't say per day, as
Well,
I recall.
I don't think.
We have to look at it again.
Yeah,
Could you do something like if they don't cooperate, it's 200%, the next billing period is 300%? And just keep increasing it until you get their attention?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do is have a step increase, or at least
Okay.
that's what I was hoping to convince these guys to do.
I mean, so I guess I'll have to look at the revised rules since I get done, but I mean, when I was in water, shutting water off was not an issue.
well, there's a whole state statute, 8 or 10 pages now on all the hoops you have to jump through to
Yeah.
shut off water.
I think if we can avoid that by doing something else, it's much better. I mean, I would hate to put our guys out there shutting off water. It just,
Well,
Can I read the fine, section 24 from the charter?
yeah.
No fine shall be imposed for the violation of any city ordinance or bylaw exceeding $100, provided that when it may be necessary to abate a nuisance, provided that when it may be necessary to abate a nuisance, the expense of such abatement may be imposed upon the delinquent in addition to said fine. Now wait a second. A person who violates any city ordinance or bylaw may, on conviction thereof, be imprisoned in the house of correction at hard labor for a term not exceeding 6 months, in addition to or in lieu of said fine.
There we go. Let's
in the
use that.
discretion of the court. So, like, let's just think for a second. When was this written? What did $100 mean?
Right. Right.
So I agree 100% or 200%, another 100% every quarter thereafter, because
Yeah, because, I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, it makes sense just to fix the thing and be done with it.
it does. And it's costing the city money.
Okay,
yeah.
write it.
Unfair.
And we don't know how much use there is, which
Yeah.
is,
Well, that's the thing, if you're only, certainly I agree with Paul, it's a faulty meter, but there's water going through it.
You do, but
And you've given them plenty of opportunity to cooperate and
If-
change
right,
it out.
if
as
we
long
had
as you've
been-
given them the opportunity. I mean, 1/4.
Well, that's why we wrote the previous
Right.
paragraph. This is a whole different situation.
I am sure if they could only be there on a weekend, our guys would show up, if that's the
We'd
case.
figure it out.
I mean, so I think, it can be scheduled, it's just,
Well, and a lot of the weekend people pay property managers
Yeah.
and companies now to take care of their yard work and all that kind of stuff. Surely,
yeah,
some of those people can let you in too.
yeah.
It's a little different than it used to be in that sense.
Yeah.
But in any event, it gets back to the idea that the property owner has to bear some level of minimal responsibility here.
Minimal being generous.
We did talk about there possibly being some method of appeal or seeking of waiver for people who aren't, quote, really failing to cooperate, but have mental health problems or...
I actually ran that by my wife, who has been in the mental health field for 45 some odd years, and she said she could not think of a single client she's ever dealt with in that category who owned their own home, period, ever.
And a lot of them would have guardians too, some of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think they're extenuating circumstances, but clearly there's gonna be the board reviewing these things and an extenuating circumstance, one in, 1,000. I think they would, yeah.
You should at least put in something about extenuating circumstances.
I think, it's one of the things that I have a note saying process of appeal
I was gonna say-
noted on my piece of paper.
Isn't there a whole board abatement process that includes water?
Well, exactly, you
Yeah.
file for an abatement,
Yeah,
yeah.
So that would be a
That
redundant
process
Yeah.
already exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
so as long as, there is recourse.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be a party pooper, but we've been going for 2 hours.
Yeah, I need to quit soon. I have about done.
And
So how close are we in your judgment, John?
Well, I can do some more tinkering based on what we've talked about tonight and come up with another draft and get that one circulated. I just don't have time to get anything out.
I love
for
it.
this
I mean,
meeting.
I think we're close and we need to just get this thing approved and get it to the council for their consideration.
Yeah, I mean, my goal and hope in doing this was that we at least had the interim thing in place to deal with the most imminent issues.
Right.
The other topic that I don't want to talk about tonight, but I do, after the last couple of weeks of the phone calls I've been getting, I clearly do think we need to address before the next bill goes out, is the language around connection fee versus base rate fee versus.
But I don't think we need to do anything formal. I think we just ask downstairs what it takes to reprogram NEMRIC to change the words connection fee to base rate, and that's all there is to it.
I think you want to put quarterly in there. I think your key thing is we went from base rate.
Quarterly base rate, not one
quarterly,
connection fee or one
quarterly
base rate.
connection. Either one will do, because
It's true, that would help.
connection was when we did the first change, we went to
a good idea,
connection.
right.
So we have gone through almost 4 billings or 3 billings with connection. And it kicks now. What is the problem is the word quarterly. And by the way, already been there, we're limited with the number of letters, so we're going to have to somehow abbreviate it.
QTRLY or
So why don't
Yeah.
we just change it to QTRLY base rate? Because base is shorter than connection.
I have to admit, that's probably the one, and we can go talk to Stacy, but we are limited in those
Because I
things.
pointed out before that there's no consistency in language and what people call those things and
Yeah.
There isn't.
different.
Yeah.
And I don't blame people for being confused by it. I mean, honestly, when I look at it, I'm like, if I'd have been reading it for the first time, I'd have thought a connection fee. I'm already connected. Like,
But
what are you
use of the
charging?
word connection is not unique to us.
No, I get that.
It's all
Right.
over the place, but I think it's an easy fix. We just ask Stacy what's involved in changing it to QTRLY base,
Yeah.
and the number of letters works vis-a-vis
Yeah.
connection, and we're done.
Yeah,
And we don't need any.
Your electric bill calls their base rate a customer charge.
yeah, but we've gotten kickback. Let's throw quarterly in there and be done with it. It solves the problem.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
yeah, I
they're
mean,
just
yeah,
like quarterly.
yeah.
Okay.
One of the other things we need to address is also to think, and I want to get to Paul with how we would readjust the rate structure, is that Tracy pointed it out. It probably would be less confusing for people to know exactly what we're paying for debt service on the water and the sewer. And you can add lines in the number of bills. I said to Stacy, how many lines can we get there? So you could have, the quarterly, basically debt service, base rate, and et cetera. Because I think, technically your base rate is what is paying for your debt service, plus some of those really firms' fixed cost. So I think that is something to think about, but it's why I sort of spoke to Paul, because he's got the background. We've argued about how many categories we have, so we're probably the two to hash this thing out, of trying to figure out what we can do to do a level of sort of restructure
Right.
and just bring some clarity to the whole structure.
So the two of you are gonna have a
Yeah, I mean,
knockdown, drag out fight and
I
come back
argued
with
when this committee first came, let's keep the old rates that was, we're establishing from 2016. This was the structure that we established then. I have come to the realization now that I think it is out of date and we need to tweak it. But the problem is we needed to have sort of a year of knowing what these increases were. So we're there, so this is a prime time to
Sounds good to
do
me.
a potential total restructure. But if we don't get it done, let's make sure we say quarterly.
I don't think it's worth doing it until we have more meters in.
I think you've got a point, but to be perfectly honest, I think we start right now with what we've got. I mean, we've got major. I mean, we dealt with this with the original structure, which is held fairly well, was done with 400 meters, 400 residential meters.
Ultimately, you're gonna have your, well, I'm
It's
not gonna
gonna
say
be
Tom,
tweaked
but, your chief operator develop a cost per 1,000 gallons.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Bottom
And that's-
line.
that-
And then you're gonna have a cost per 1,000 gallons for employees, a cost per 1,000 gallons for debt and service. But, you know, you can have a breakdown that way. I don't know if your guys are doing that already, doing a cost per 1,000 gallons based on chemicals, power, all that, but that's a good starting point.
I mean, we technically have the information on that. We know how much is being pumped. We know how much we're
We're not getting
around.
paid to do it.
This is true.
Well, you can end up making the bill so complicated that it creates more
No,
confusion.
you do the categories. I'm suggesting that you just sort of see how we would tweak it. And I think it's something to consider. Now is the time to consider it because we've got, a whole, almost 2 months to do it.
Yep.
And I feel that it's crucial.
Well, that's no problem. We can do it.
Thank you.
I'll buy the two of you lunch. If you go to lunch, send me the bill, but it can only be you can go to Wendy's or McDonald's.
Oh, well,
High nutritional.
Actually, it's a big deal for me to go to Wendy's. I've been boycotting Wendy's for 10 years, more.
There must be a Wendy's in Myrtle Beach, man.
Wendy's in Myrtle Beach is not gonna work for me.
He didn't say he was transporting us there,
So we can wrap it up for tonight. 2 weeks from tonight, same time.
What's 2 weeks?
Well, I'm looking it up now because
It would be the 19th, I think.
What month are we in?
March.
Somebody called my name.
Did you say something? Go ahead,
Oh,
Tracy.
yeah. What, Tracy?
Did you just say that you were able to take the bond amount out of the base rate?
No, I did not. I said that we need to look into doing a sort of debt service type thing and see if it's feasible to put it in. We could work that out, but right now we don't really have the information on the bond. It hasn't come in. We could do the current debt service. But I think going forward, you have potentially a very valid point that it would make sense to show what is, basically that really firm debt service type thing. Maybe it's not, but I think it's worth looking into.
This thing out for
So when you say debt service, you mean the bond, but you don't know what that amount is yet.
The bond and all the other loans that we have several different loans. So the bond is just one. We've got the sewer has 100,000 they're paying back. We've got, various
800,
structures.
Go argue with the Holland
Yeah.
Historical Society.
The sewer loan was 875,000.
875, okay, yeah, just dropped the
I
zero.
thought there was only 2, so I didn't realize there were more.
Oh, no,
There's other
there are
Well projects.
5 at least, I think, long-term.
Yeah.
They're detailed in the audit. Yeah, if it was
The
just the
meeting starts
bond,
at
I don't
5.
think it wouldn't make a difference. But all of
They're
it
not
might,
like
but at least
saying
it's a
I'm
good
really
eye-opener to
short,
know what is really your debt service and not your operational costs.
It's that. It's
Thank you for looking into it for me.
Oh, not a problem.
that I mentioned.
Thanks for coming tonight, Tracy. Again, I apologize that we were late getting you on.
Okay.
Okay, are we done?
Yeah, so 19th at 6:30.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on the calendar right now.
Jennifer, you talk to the ladies downstairs more than anybody else. Will you let them know that there's a rounding error on their bills? It says, this is gonna be really stupid, but it
No,
says
they have a
0.0032,
problem.
0.0033.
There is a problem.
Okay.
Okay, the problem is they only have a certain number of
Digits?
digits. They have 5 zeros or 4
Well, that's
zeros.
fair, but they round it down. They should be rounding it up, right?
I don't believe, I have not found one, well, no, there's a quirk in my double check and they're off by maybe 20 cents on
20 cents,
any of
yeah,
the bill.
Yeah.
But I think it's a combination of the rate things. I'll look into it, but I don't know that they can
I'm
do
not-
anything about it.
I'm not gonna throw a fit about it.
Okay, good night, Tracy.